These episodes are intended for mature audiences. Viewer and listener discretion advised.
We don't do well is say goodbye. We don't know how to say goodbye because we move so much, or we had people leave our lives so much, experience so much uncertainty that we kind of have this. I can control myself. I can't control the environment, but I control my response to the environment. There are other ways to get life experience that are much more valuable. Felt like as military brat you were seeing.
Guys, welcome back to another episode of Stories of a Dandelion. This is me and Connor's second time recording this, so we will see how this time goes. There might be a third. I have no idea.
There very well could be. Yeah.
But welcome to the podcast. This is my best friend since high school. The fact that we are still in contact says a lot because I'm really only truly in contact with 3 people at all times. So here's one of them. Please don't share any embarrassing stories while we're here. Welcome to the podcast, Connor.
I don't know if I have any embarrassing stories.
Good. Yeah. Only embarrassing stories about you.
Share them if you want. I got no shame game right now. Yeah.
Let's be honest. I mean, last episode, Isolda, shared that we used to scream penis in the pizza bowl. So, I mean, I don't really know if you can get any lower than that.
Yeah, I did that at a university once, and the security officer came up and was like, "You guys need to stop." I mean, I went to a Christian school, and they're like super serious about it. They're like, "It's not that big. It's just anatomy, man. Just relax." But yeah, he's like, "I would destroy all you guys." Okay. So yeah, people are weird. Very.
All right, first question. Like I asked you last time, if you're 18, graduating from high school, what advice would you give yourself?
Don't go to college. Straight up, don't go to college.
I mean, it definitely changed from last time.
I don't remember what I said last time, but yeah, I know that last time I wasn't paying student loans. They aren't that much, but even still, it's... I think college was a big learning experience in a lot of ways, but I don't know. It wasn't as fulfilling as it could have been. Maybe it's because of the school I went to. I'm not sure. I learned a lot. I did love my university. I still have really good friends out there. But there were some things that were left to be desired at the end of the day, and I had way more fun going to Australia and going to Africa than I did like studying. School and I don't mesh very well. And it's funny because I'm going back for my master's. So I actually start in like 8 days now, which is I'm only taking one class right now, but I'm just like, God, this is going to be rough. I got a buddy that's like, well, why is it so hard? I was like, I haven't done school in 4 years, so yeah. I would say don't go to college.
I would agree. I would agree. Even though I did go get my bachelor's and my master's right after, I would agree. And I still have student loans, not as much to pay it off, but the fact that you have to pay it off is annoying. And yeah, same. The experience wasn't as exciting as you thought it would be. Your expectations were my expectations were way up here, and I got like a mediocre. I'm not saying like I did have fun. I'm not gonna lie, I had fun with the people I hung out with, but like, I don't know, you watch the movies and you're like, yes, that is what I want, and then you go and you're like, this is a lie.
Yep.
So I get it.
Yeah.
So tell me about your gap year.
Oh man. Well, I technically took a year and a half off from school. Graduated high school in 2014. We have our 10-year anniversary this June.
I'm getting old. 28.
Yeah, I don't know if any of us are going back, or if we even have it like set up or anything like that. Because you're supposed to have like a 10-year reunion. I don't know, man. So I graduated, worked for.
You can't do that like a military kid.
it's hard. It's really challenging because everybody's, everywhere, and then travel's freaking
Yeah.
expensive as all get out right now. Yeah, I took a year off initially, so I worked for 6 months. Um, yeah, and then I went to Africa for 3 months, which was insane. Um, Such a blast. Almost died. Like, played with fireworks when I wasn't supposed to. Um, yeah, killed a snake at 4 o'clock in the morning. Like, went on a safari. Like all the stuff that you kind of just don't really think about doing, and you just kind of do it. Walked up a mountain into South Africa. That was really cool. Had 2 kids fall asleep on me, like my last day at a care point. So there's like some really precious moments in time in Africa that I know that I was healing from, regarding my sister who committed suicide my senior year. Yeah, so that was my first gap year. The second gap year, I went to Australia. I took a semester off. Went to Australia, which was also kind of crazy. They're a place that you dream about going. And I went to Australia, and I was like, "This is." Yeah. As soon as I got off the plane, I was like, "This is home." It's just, it was a really weird sensation, and weird meeting of like America and Europe at the same time, as well as like having a completely different culture. So yeah, 10 out of 10, recommend it. I think doing school right after high school is challenging, especially as a military brat. So like going to college is just hard if you don't know who you are. Plus, like, the world is big and is made a lot smaller now. So work for a little bit, go travel, explore and enjoy life. People say that, the 20s are what you make of it, and same with your 30s. You get tired in your 30s, you get tired in your 40s, but you have all the energy in the world when you're late teens and 20s. So just go out and do it. Work the 60-hour weeks to go take a vacation for a month somewhere. So, yeah.
Okay. I mean, I wouldn't lie. I'm tired of my 20s. I mean, I think it just gets worse over time. But I'm just being honest. Like,
I'm hitting my stride now. I'm got 20s,
but
yeah, I'm ready. Like,
we
I'm
only have
going.
like 2 more years, but still, like, dude.
Hey, it's all good. Yeah.
It's an up and down. It's an up and down. It's an up and down thing. So, like, what did you learn about yourself during the gap years or the gap time?
Probably not as much as I've learned about myself in the last 10 months. Yeah, so my actual gap year, after high school, Katie committed suicide when I was 17. So that was September of 2013. And I just needed a break. Like, I don't mesh well with school. If anything, I look at different schooling tactics, and the way that regular school set up just doesn't work for my brain. It doesn't work for my personality. And so like a Montessori school would have probably been better for me in general. And I just needed a break from school to just kind of learn and live life. So I have a high interest in adventure, high interest in having fun. But I also, when I went to Africa, I learned that I like to serve. Like, I love to serve, and doing missions. It's just why I went to Africa in the first place. Was the big thing. That sharing the gospel and sharing my faith and being with people that don't have 2 pennies to rub together, and just sitting with people is where, like, my life really kind of exists. It's what I really enjoy doing. So I think that was probably the 2 bigger things, and that life can be really scary and really fun all at the same time. And when you almost die, like, life seems a lot less scary. I think we graduated high school and I got hit by a car like the next month, when I was on my moped going to work. It was like end of July. I think that I got hit on my moped and I was done. I was out for like a week, and I walked into work and it was like, you can't work today anymore because you literally just can't walk. I was like, okay, whatever. But then, Africa was a different story in the sense that we had a spitting cobra in the house at one point. We had a black mamba living underneath our porch. We almost got tossed into like a little crevice at a beach. My buddy and I got shredded by rocks, like swam with sharks on accident. I think it's just like a perspective shift of life is really what you make of it, and you enjoy it. And the little moments matter, especially when you kind of go, oh, like, yeah, I've almost died. And so, yeah.
So your brush with death made you want to live a more adventurous life than you were living like when we were in high school?
I think it's
not
intentional.
That we weren't adventurous in high school, but
I think just intentional. I think that's much more of what it. Your time is valuable. You have 52 weeks in a year, and then you have anywhere between 75 and 85 years on the earth. So whatever that number comes out to, it's like 4,000 something. You have a very finite amount of time. And as a Christian, like this 75 to 85, 90 years doesn't just speak for, now, it speaks for eternity, and in the sense of like this defines, where you are, where you end up, in walking with the Lord. So I think it was much more of an intentional walk, an intentional time with people of just being I'm meeting where people are, like where they're at. People want to be heard, engaged, and listened to, and loved where they're at. They don't want to, you bring them up to where you are. They want to be met where they are. So I think just intentionality was what the shift was.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole point of Jesus. He meets us where we're at, and then transforms us as we go. So yeah. And I remember during that time, like you were very, like, you wrote a whole letter to me, I remember, and I was like, where the heck did this come from? But I just remember being like, I remember I was like, you sent me it, and I was like, oh, this is so sweet. Like, my best friend sent me this letter. It's awesome. But I just could tell, like, you were changing, like you going out in Africa and like in that time, you were definitely changing and growing into a new version of you. Yeah. And even though I didn't understand it at the time, because I was like, what, Africa? Like, and then you're like, I don't know if I want to come back. And I was like, yeah, I get it. I understand. But at the same time, I was like, it's cool. Like, I'm just your best friend, kind of needing your help. But it's cool. I get it. You gotta find yourself. You gotta find yourself too. I won't be selfish. But in all seriousness, like, I got it. Because it took college. Like, it took that time of being out of an environment that I was so used to, being away from my mom, who I was so used to just being there at all times, to really just grow and change and make you realize, like, there's so much more to life, and it's what you make of it and who you spend with and all these other things. But, also recently with all the losses over the last couple of years, it's also like just compounded on that of spending time with the ones you love and taking care of the relationships you have and fostering them in the best way possible. So, yeah. But yeah, I do remember that letter, and I was like, oh, my best friend loves me. Because in high school, none of us told each other we loved, except for me. I would tell everybody I loved them. And they'd be like, Jenna, stop being weird. I was like, why? I was like, I love you guys. Like, you don't understand. Yeah. Especially Raquel. I'd be like, I love you, dude. She'd be like, no.
I mean, yeah, but that's like classic Raquel. Yeah. I love her. Yeah.
But yeah, like, that's how it, like, so I think over the like last 10 years for all of us, it's been a huge change. And like, how are you feeling? Like, it's 10 years since we've graduated, and how are you feeling now? Like looking back at when you were 18 and until now, like what does that change feel like to you?
My knees hurt. So I don't know why, but like my knees just like started acting up, and I was like, okay. But I don't really know. I don't really feel like, I mean, I guess I feel more mature, more acquainted with myself. I feel happier. To be honest, I don't remember a lot of high school. Like it's just, I don't know why. I just don't remember a lot of high school. And I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, I just don't remember high school. I remember friends, I remember certain people, but a lot of what we did in high school is just kind of like, meh. Like I remember Shape Fest. I remember Make a Wish.
I remember moments. Yeah, I remember moments and stuff. Yeah.
But like I don't remember like a lot of it. So yeah, I guess I would say I feel more mature, more set in who I am. Definitely more content. More energized, especially as of recent. Building apps and starting your own business, and like I said before, it's you have the time now in your 20s to just build the business. I'm not married. I don't have kids. Like I have a dog, and that's about it. Of what I can pour my time into, of why not start my own business. I don't really feel like I'm 28 either. I feel like I'm 22, 23, 24. And then I look at people that I work with. Sorry?
What? I'm
yeah. And then I like see people that I work with in like a youth services or youth ministry. And they're like 19, 20, 21. I'm like, oh, no, there's a difference. Like, and it's not just because like the military, there's just like I'm in a career. Like I'm not in high school or middle school, and I serve those kids, but I can't relate to them. And part of it is the fact that I lived out, outside the U.S. for so much of my life, but I just have a hard time relating to some of these kids.
Though. Yeah, it's a different generation. It's not even the fact that we, grew up in a whole nother country. It's like a whole different generation that we're all raised within the internet. We had the internet, but we weren't raised in it, so.
Yeah. But I work in that field. Like I'm in tech. And so, there's a maturity difference. But I've also moved so much, especially since I graduated high school. I think me moving back to Denver this time is my 15th move in my life. And that includes like all the intercountry moves or interstation moves that we've done. I think this is after high school. I think it's like 8 or 9 moves that I've done. And it's taken me to Texas, Virginia, Colorado, back to Texas, multiple times in Virginia. So I don't know. I just, happy. Like I'm actually happy. In high school, I don't think I really was happy. I know who I am now versus 10 years ago when I graduated high school. I know what I want out of life. I know that my faith and my walk with the Lord is completely different than when I was 18. Not nearly as angry. There's definitely things in my life that I'm upset about. But it's not the Lord's fault. It's, my own making, my own submission. So, yeah.
Yeah. But I skipped this part. I skipped the part of what I ask everybody, which is tell me about your whole life, time you were born to the time you're now. We kind of went into it, your college years and stuff like that, but tell me about your childhood and, how you were raised as a military brat.
So born in San Antonio, moved to Italy when I was like 17 months old. My little sister was 5 weeks. Yeah. And then I spent like 6.5, 7 years in Italy. Like our rent for the house that we were living at in Italy essentially paid for our landlord's eldest daughter Federica to go through medical school. They were our next door neighbors as well. And so we have a really unique relationship, as a lot of people can kind of attest. And living in another country, you make some really unique relationships with the locals. And so they essentially became our grandparents, Daniela and Valerio, and their family, Federica and Elena. Yeah, and then after Italy, I was 8, moved to North Dakota. Sucked. Least favorite station I've ever been at. And there's some people that love it.
I don't think anybody
Yeah,
likes North Dakota. I mean,
John Balkovic is out there right now. He's I think in Minot, and
oh really?
yeah, he just got married too. So he got married last year. But he's out in Minot.
Congrats to John.
He I asked him, I was like, how do you feel about it? He goes, it sucks. I was like, yeah, dude. Like, welcome to the party with this one. It's super flat. It's super white. And it's like super, super snowy all the time. Yeah. Then after North Dakota, we went to AF North actually. So Shapes Rivals. That's where, that's where Andrew, my older brother, and then Katie, my older sister, graduated high school, 2008, 2009, respectively. In 2009, we moved to Belgium, where I went to Belgian school for a year, speak terrible French, and then Aaron speaks French way better than I do. Went to Belgian school for a year, then ended up at Shape High School, and that's where we met. We became friends our I think sophomore year. And then after high school, did the gap year, went to Africa, came back, went to Texas and Corpus for a year, moved up to Virginia for 5 years. So I was in DC for a little bit, and I was out in Lynchburg, Virginia, Liberty University, for 3.5 years. And then I moved to Austin to help with my grandmother passing away. After Austin, moved out to Colorado for a year, moved back to Austin this past August, and now moving back to Colorado this coming weekend. A lot of moving, a lot of fun, a lot of new places, new people. But my life as a military rat, I think, was very different than a lot of people, as you can attest for you. Most people don't stay in one place for very long. We were extremely fortunate to stay in Italy for almost 7 years. Even when Dad was here in Texas, we were fortunate to stay here for almost 7-8 years. Initially before Italy. And then Dad retired in 2009 and we moved to Belgium. And once you go into the civilian side, it's not uncommon for you to stay in a place for a while. I don't have any complaints. I'm actually speaking at a middle school mission trip in end of May about what it's like to be a military brat and doing some research on it. It was eye-opening. It was also kind of, I think, cathartic in just recognizing some things that we kind of grew up with unintentionally and unknowingly. There were some studies that came out in 2010 and a little bit later about kids that grew up with the 9/11 military. And because of the kind of deployments that we went through and where we were and all this other stuff, we were like 37% more likely to experience behavioral issues that were like worry, anxiety, anger, scholastic issues, acting out. It didn't really matter if it was your father or your mother that were deployed. And that was, I think, with a 3-month deployment initially, and then after every subsequent deployment, it was exponential growth of just what you experienced as a kid. You get adjusted to your life without your parent, and then you have to readjust your life with your parent. And I think that kind of has a twofold factor for us, being in another country. When 9/11 kicked off, we were in Italy. And I remember bad bad. Dad being deployed in station, and then even before that being deployed to different areas. He wasn't deployed that much, which was a huge thing for us. But there were definitely times where I think as a kid, you don't know how to feel or express your feeling, and you don't know what you're feeling in the first place, and so you just kind of act out.
Yeah.
And I saw that with my siblings, myself, looking back with hindsight. And at the same time, I don't think a lot of us are prepared in the first place.
How did you act out?
Oh, me?
Yeah. How did you guys act out when he was gone?
So I was the manipulator. So if I wanted to get my way, that was like the one way that I would do it, was manipulate my whole family. So since then I've apologized and been forgiven and work on not doing it. I'm definitely a potster in general. I think it's just kind of fun to mess with people. And I try to be aware of it now, of just not manipulating, but being aware of how I'm stirring the pot, as long as it's not an emotional. But being cheeky about it, absolutely. And so I think that was how I acted out, was probably, manipulation. I know that I'm not my siblings by any means. I think they all had like a 3.5 or higher GPA graduating high school, and I came in with like a 2.98. So showed up late to class, like, yeah. So that was like, part of it is just, I think I'm the only kid out of the four of us that got detention 3 different times. I don't think, I think all of my siblings got detention once, and I was like, nah, let me go like full send on it.
So I
think part of it was just like needing to be different. Yeah. I think that was probably the big thing is I'm not cut from the same cloth. I'm very much like my siblings, in a lot of ways, but, I didn't really deal with like anger. I think I dealt with anger in using it to like manipulate people, or using my hurt to manipulate people, and feigning that. I could probably say that was probably, chalk it up to that. So
it was like it fed your anger, or like it kind of, I don't know, because it doesn't really ease your anger. Your anger is still there, but like it kind of just like gave it a purpose in a way.
Yeah, and it was a temporary reprieve from actually feeling, which years later, when I actually went to therapy and was like, oh, I have family issues. My counselor was like, dude, you're kind of, yeah. I was like, oh man, that makes me feel so good.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think a lot of us think that, though. Like, we get out of our family, like, we get out of the military life, and it's like, oh, I actually have problems. Like, this is not okay. What I've been coping, like how I've been coping for however long, and like you said, like, for us as military brats, like, we're more likely to have like anxiety and all that. And my mom's doing a paper on like young adults and like military brats, and we're more likely to be like alcoholics and druggies and all that, because like of the stress that comes with being a military brat. So it's like, it's really scary to like, know that, but like you have all your friends around you and you're just like, is it like it seems like we're doing well. like we seem like we're doing well, but at the same time, like, we grew up in an environment where we were taught to like, but we were taught to hide stuff. Like, we were taught to hide like the negative things about us. So, we can look at somebody and be like, not them. Nah.
Like, I'm not on the street. But, I'm street adjacent. I'm not like, I'm not shooting drugs and taking them. Like, I'm fine. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And so I think, we do a lot of that with the military, just like comparing. But like when you go to therapy and you're like, oh, and you're given tools, military brats in general make up less than 1% of the population. It's one of the reasons that we go back into the military, because it's familiar, because we know that, 70% of the people in the military have experience with the military, and you're all, dealing with the same crap that you've been dealing with since you were, born. And there were different parts of the study as well for career military members, which was like later military members versus, early childhood members. And it was really interesting to just kind of go through that and go, wow, there was some I guess vindication to your emotions of going, wow, like life isn't really that bad in a lot of ways. But there were some things that you go, that really sucked. And I think one of the things that we really don't do well is say goodbye. We don't know how to say goodbye because we moved so much, or we had people leave our lives so much. And so I just had a friend, I went to Virginia to go visit them because they were going out to do missions. I was supposed to leave, that Sunday morning or whatever it was. And then I switched my flight and, took an extra day, and there was a real, peace that happens when you get to say goodbye. As hard as it is, as hard as goodbyes are, as hard as, sending people away are, or is, it was healing to go, I am actually sending you off. Like, I'm saying goodbye to you officially and saying that I love you as a friend and I want the best for you and I'll be praying for you and all this stuff. And, versus, the military, like, well, we're PCSing in like 4 days, and you're like, oh, well, bye. Okay. I think I got to AF North, and I had Thomas Muldoon and Devin McKay that actually, were at Shape, and that was really weird. But yeah, they we were friends in AF North, and then they were gone, and then I got to see them back, and we completely changed. Like, our personalities had changed. We'd grown up a little, differently, and we weren't really friends after that. Like, it was a one time in our lives that we were really close and really enjoyed each other. But then they were gone, and I was left kind of floundering. I don't think they were there for 6th grade. I think they was only part of 5th. I distinctly remember was it 2006 World Cup? Yeah, because we'd gotten to AF North at that point, and we watched the World Cup at Thomas Muldoon's place, and when Italy won, we ran out screaming, great, I don't remember what we screamed, but yeah. We don't know how to say goodbye as military brats. It's a really hard thing because you just move on. But you make friends really quickly and easily. So.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, it's a friendship contract. Like, we don't do long term. Like, that, like I simply said, like, me and you still talking, and Raquel and Caitlin, like, it's like the fact that we're all still, like, I'm in contact with you three it's absolutely bonkers
crazy.
For military brats.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. I think I've definitely realized it when I was in college, because I left college and I was like, all right, this is and it wasn't intentional or anything. Like, I didn't intentionally be like, I'm not going to talk to these people after I graduate college. It was just a simple fact. Like, I was used to having friends at a certain time, and then when you don't see each other anymore, it's like, all right, well, we just can't be friends anymore, and life goes on. Because when we were kids, it wasn't like you could just go online and be like, what's up? I mean, not until middle school, but when we were young, our parents were like, if your parents weren't in contact with each other, you weren't in contact with that child in elementary school. You went to the next school. So what you learned in elementary kept going, and then Facebook came and you kind of reconnected, but it wasn't the same. So yeah,
I go through my Facebook list all the time, delete, because I just don't I don't know you. I haven't come into contact with you. Are you really that important to my life? No. It's cool to be updated, but in reality, you don't have an effect on my life. So yeah,
it's true. I better not ever be deleted. I just want to say that now.
Right. Well, to be honest, I'm not.
You to the
When was the last time you updated Facebook? I mean, that's the next question.
I mean, I update for the podcast. That's about it.
Right,
Like, I don't really update for.
I don't know the last time that I updated Facebook. I mean, I've sold things on Facebook, but like I haven't updated Facebook. I don't remember the last time that I posted on Instagram. I just I'm not one to share my life in the first place unless I'm with you all the time. And even then, you and I don't talk like every month. I'm a terrible friend in some aspects. So like
we're all terrible friends.
I'm like, hey, you good? Like, yeah. I mean, like, I didn't tell you that I went to the ER 9 days ago. I was in the ER because like, I don't know. I woke up, it was like 4:00 in the morning and I had this, like, I was sick. I'm still getting over the cold, but like I had this nonstop bloody nose and Aaron was here and it was like 4:30.
You have a nonstop bloody nose.
No, I don't.
I swear every time.
No, I don't. Anyway, different story, different time. But anyway,
okay.
It was like 4:30 and I look at Aaron and like I have tampons up my nose because I just tissues weren't working. And she goes, all right. I was like, it's not stopping. Is it an ER visit? She goes, it's probably an ER visit. And if you don't know Aaron's an ER nurse. She's actually out in New York right now. And I get to visit her next month. And I was like, okay. And we show up to the ER. It's like 5:00. And the charge nurse looks at me and goes, are those? And I was like, yep, tampons. Yep, 100%. And she goes, oh, okay. I was like, you know what? If they're good enough for what they need to be good enough for, they're good enough for my nose. Like, I got no shame with it. And the doc, he came in and he's like, okay, well, this isn't working. So we're going to try, they call it a rhino rocket. And essentially it's a tampon with a balloon and, terrible feeling. And so
it sounds
she put up my nose and blew it up. And I was like, well, this is terrible. Yeah. And usually it's like 2 to 3 milliliters of air. And he was like, we got to put 6 into your freaking nose. I was like, oh, well, okay. Yeah. So I had a freaking rhino rocket up my nose for 48 hours and change. And, and so,
do they pop on their own?
Like Monday last week, and this is just part of life. But I'm cracking jokes the whole time. Like I'm having a good time. Sorry.
I said I'm surprised you still have blood in your body. Like.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. No. I'm not one to like get worried about stuff like that in the first place. And my mom commented on that. She goes, "You kind of make like pish posh of emergency situations." Like, well, it's not really that big of a deal. Like, I know where I'm going when I die. Yeah, it'd be sad if I left. Yeah. For everybody else besides me. Yeah. Like, I'd be partying with Jesus when I die. But at the same time, like, I'm also not going to go, oh, this is like super, super serious. Because there really isn't. Like, life, like I said before, I think it's just a perspective shift of, almost dying, going, okay, just be intentional with your time. You have 70 years on this earth, 85 years on this earth, whatever it is, and being intentional. I mean, we dealt with death when we were in high school. And even after high school, I think I've had 8 or 9 people in my life die in the last 10 years. And it's intentionality.
Hey guys, I wanted to take a quick break to ask if you are enjoying this episode. Go ahead and follow us on Stories of a Dandelion right here on Spotify or wherever you're getting your podcast, as well as follow us on all of our social media accounts. Let's create this community full of military brats who feel that they're okay with opening up about their mental health, about sharing their journey, what they're going through, and create a place for beautiful healing through stories. So again, please go ahead and follow us on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts, as well as all of the social media accounts. Now let's get back to today's episode.
Also, I mean, we went skiing last year. You came up to Colorado for a week or would change 4 days. Yeah. We went skiing, which was bitter cold. But
Oh, dude, so cold.
that was 17 degrees outside. I was like
It's cold.
going down the hill with wind. I was like, this is
Yeah.
not it. We called it quits after like 3 hours. Like, this is just, I can't feel my
It was-
hands,
it
can't
was-
feel my toes.
For
So,
real. Like
yeah,
I went at the end of this year or last year, and it was so much warmer. Like I went in Arizona, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is how it should be when you ski." Like when we went, I was like, "What in the balls?" Which is not bad. Like I would definitely go again, but yeah,
well, come on.
It was,
I got
was
friend
pretty
passes
cold.
this year. So I got like the full Epic pass. You can come in. We can go out to France. We can go to Switzerland if you want. Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right, I'm down.
Let's hold back on France and Switzerland for a second. Let's do that for like our 30th birthday. Like, you know.
Oh, okay. Not a 12 or 13 year, but like, yeah, we missed the 10 year.
Yeah. Who cares about that? Like 30th birthday. Let's do that.
Okay.
Yeah, we're still trying to adult. We're not adulting level yet. I'm not adulting level yet. You might be. Give me a little time.
I mean, I'm pretty secure. So all my bills are paid.
Yeah,
I got a dog. Like I'm living on my own.
Yeah.
Soon-ish again.
I completely understand that.
So.
Yeah. I'm like, my bills are getting paid, but that's about it right now. They're getting paid. Like vacations right now, especially after last year. Jesus, I was never in Georgia. Every month I was somewhere else. So your girl's got to replenish the bank.
Yeah. Yeah.
End of
That
this
was
year,
the past 2 months for me.
We can go some skiing. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hey, all right, cool. Yeah, I'm down. I mean, I got a raise back in February that finally kicked in. So, and I should be up for promotion here pretty soon too. So, I'll just pay for my trip and you can tag along. Yeah. So
sounds good to me. Like I'm always a tag alonger. I can feel less.
What's up there?
Are we going to France or Switzerland? I gotta know first.
You just show up to the airport, Gina, and then like, hey, here's it.
All right.
So
the crazy thing is though, like me and my mom have been talking about going to Belgium, like back. So I mean, France is right there. Shoot, let's do it.
Yeah, and I'm going to Austria in July, so I got invited out to do a mission trip out there to Romania and explore a mission base out in Vienna. I talked to the guy back in January, and he's like, "Well, we'd love to work with you. It probably wouldn't be for like the next 2 or 4 years, but I was like, great, because I'm not going to finish school until 2 years from now, so." Which is, I don't know why I'm doing this to myself, aside from like the Lord just going, hey, go back to school. Otherwise, I'd be like, screw that, man.
I mean, like getting your master's isn't that hard. So like you'll be, it's not that hard. Like you do the homework, like, you call it a day.
Yeah, it's the papers. Like it's a master's in theology. I don't really want to. I don't do well with busy work. And like, I got to learn 2 new languages. I got to learn Hebrew and Greek. And I'm just like, okay.
Ooh.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm like,
I love the Lord. Theology is not for me. I love the Lord. Hey, I'm reading my Bible. I am reading a chapter a day.
There we go.
But, the whole, like, I'm understanding the times and, everything like that. But, yeah. That's about
I think it's like super cool. I mean, that's like the nerdy part of me is just doing that. So yeah, all that to say is, that was an answer of like where I'm at after high school and prior to, and like getting to this point. Yeah. Going back to school at 28 years old for a master's, and I'm turning 30 in a year and a half. So
but it's not like you have your bachelor's, like getting your master's, like people shoot. Like, have you seen Girlfriends? There's one on there. Her name is Lynn, and like she goes back to get her master's like every other year. Like she's like, I got my like 5th master's, and like she's like 40 something. So it's not about that. Because she just wants to go back to school. Like she has no job, but she just keeps going back. You gotta watch it. Like it's hilarious. Love Girlfriends. Definitely recommend. But anyway,
gosh. I'm going back to school for.
for,
Good Lord.
I think she even went back to school for like theology and just to get the degree.
Absolutely nope.
I don't know. I wouldn't do it. Like, I'm not going to get my doctorate. I am good. I'm happy with the bachelor's and master's that I have. Do I wish I got it in marketing? Probably, but
Yeah, I can see that.
it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, my bachelor's is in IT and software engineering, so I'm in my career field doing that, and it's one of the reasons I'm like, oh, student loans not that much. I know that there are people out there that are like, I'm paying $800 a month for student loans. I'm like, I don't.
Yeah.
Like the GI Bill benefit for my dad, savior for me for student loans. I mean, I only went to school that was like $22,000 a year. If I hadn't taken the GI Bill, I don't know. I feel like I'd be in over my head for student loans, even in my career field. I don't know how people do it. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I had to do it without the GI Bill because my mom retired before they changed that rule.
Yeah, I mean, your mom also used her.
But
did she use her GI Bill for her stuff?
She's using it for her doctorate. Yeah, she's using it for her doctorate because it was going to go to waste. Like, you can't give it to me, and my dad can't give it to my sister, so he's using it for him, and so I just told her to go get her doctorate. Like, go be a doctor, Mom. Go be a doctor.
I will say, when your mom talked to me about that a few years ago, just her research, it was weird, but it felt like as military brat you were seeing, like, just the fact that you were more prone to go and have sex outside of marriage and like dangerous sex outside of marriage. As a Christian, I'm just gonna say that, sex outside of marriage. But like, you were also prone to like be a drug addict and go do reckless and more harmful things to your body that I experienced. I was like, oh, well, I feel seen. Like, I understand. And then like tie all that into why we go through that. And even now of like exploring that and why I'm doing or talking about that on the middle school mission trip to kids that are going to go to people that are experiencing homelessness. I mean, technically, we weren't homeless, but we're third culture kids. Like, we don't have a home, in the sense of like, yeah, you grew up in another country, but your home is the U.S. It's not really, and so I think there was just an element of being seen by your mom in that sense, of just like, oh, like it's a really necessary research area that isn't explored. So especially since we're less than 1% of the population.
Yeah, definitely. I've with the research for this like podcast and stuff, it's like I watched. There's a movie out there about military brats that nobody knows about, really. There's a couple books out there about military brats as well, and the book that I'm reading, which is The Body Holds Trauma.
Oh yeah, I've heard about that.
I've started reading it, and he talks about, like, his first chapter is about a Vietnam veteran and like, that trauma. And so I want to read that book and talk about it on the podcast and stuff like that. And reached out to the guy. I don't know. I would love to get him if I could, because like, to hear how like the people he talked to, because he also talks about the families in the book. And, how military affects us and how the trauma that we go through, how our body holds it. It would be like transformational for us because we have no idea. Like, we just think it is what it is. And we go throughout our life and we go do things that are quote unquote normal to us because we're used to that very fast paced, high adrenaline type of lifestyle that you get out of what's a safe environment for it into an unsafe environment. So it'd just be really interesting to see that, have that conversation.
Yeah. I was recently talking to somebody about how people that live in unsafe households or grew up in unsafe households have a propensity to go out and do more dangerous things, more extreme sports, which explains some of the things that we, as military guys, we do. Am I like the most adventurous person in the world? No, but I'm going to go for, cliff diving. Absolutely. Why not? Am I going to, bomb a hill on a snowboard as fast as I can? 100%. Am I going to be in control of the situation?
He's broken every bone in his body.
Yeah, I broke my foot. I think I broke my thumb at one point. Broke my wrist. Yeah. Sidetrack on that one. But yeah, I think just, as military kids, we experience so much uncertainty that we kind of have this, I can control myself. I can't control the environment, but I control my response to the environment. And so putting myself into a position where I can control how I feel in a dangerous environment and I can conquer it helps you kind of reclaim some uncertainty in your life when you grew up. But as far as, broken my body and damaged my body, I went to the PT recently because I had issues with my knees. And I'm talking about, hyperextended knee, broken foot, broken wrist, broken thumb, concussion, all this stuff on my body. And the guy's like, dude, you went through it. And I was like, I played as many sports as I could. And he goes, yeah, but like you're going to hurt when you're like 35. I was like, that's encouraging. Thanks, man.
He's probably like, did you do the sport right? Like,
yeah.
Did you do the sport right? Like,
yeah. And just playing all the sports that I could and getting a jumper's knee at one point and, issue with my rotator cuff and from playing volleyball, because there's a lot done to your body. It's like, yeah, but like the way that I grew up, you're going to go hard. You're going to go out and enjoy life as much as you can. So, man, that's a good book from what I've heard.
Did you ever,
The Body Holds Trauma?
Yes, from what I've read so far, I'm like highlighting and like, so it's taking me a lot longer because I'm like highlighting and like writing questions like, what does this mean? And what does that mean? So, yeah, but look, I am in deep like this. It's important, like, especially because like us as military brats, like, man, like it's ridiculous how it's not like horrible or terrible, but like the fact that we're kind of just thrown out into the world and taught to be like, fend for yourself and figure it out. And even like kids nowadays, like when I was working at the center, it's kind of the same. Their parents are always working or they're deployed, so they have to learn how to fend for themselves. And the simple fact that there's not a lot out there to help them realize that they're not alone, that they're not the only ones that have gone through it, that, people before them have gone through it and people after them will go through it, it's not good. It's not going to be good for future military brats. I am happy how the military is, starting to prioritize military families, because when we were growing up, it was like, all right, you got a kid, you're still going, you still have this job. And it's no longer if you can't control your household, then you can't, control a platoon. It's more of, we understand kids have emotions and they're not going to be perfect all the time. And you're not going to be the best parent all the time because there's too much going on. So
it's a child.
It's not so dependent on us, because, growing up for us, it was like, be the perfect kid or, get scolded at home or something, like your mom is this or your dad is this. So you have to be that person, you know?
And I think at Shape, that was probably more poignant than anywhere else because you had so many higher officers there. Not that, my dad was, my dad retired and we moved to Shape. But it's, man, I think
it's still
I will
the same
say
thing though. Like, it's
I think as a military brat, we have more confidence in ourselves too. We might not have confidence how we interact with the world outside of the military, but I think we just have more understanding of our ability to do things. Because I look at myself when I was like 18 versus some of the kids that I interact with, and they're graduating high school this year, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm going off to college." They're really, really nervous. It's like, dude, that's like, in perspective, that's chump change. I mean, like, I was in a foreign country when I was like 7, and I didn't know what that meant. And you're going off to college, it's like 5 hours away. Yeah, it's kind of a different experience, but I'm like, we grew up in such a different environment in the sense of like you make the most of what you have. Belgium was not my favorite place in the world. It was not my least favorite place in the world, but we had from what I remember, we have some good memories. We had some really good times. We had, it influenced me a lot growing up, but I look at the kids now and they're like, yeah, it's like, it's nerve wracking to go from Texas to Colorado. Like, it's really like, you're still in the same country. It looks a little different. Yes, you're going away from your parents, but man, I was itching to go away from my parents when I was like 16. I was like, sign me up for college. Like, I'm ready to go. I don't want to do this. No. And my parents were like, dude, you were trying to fly out of the nest so fast. And I was like, I really was. Because I knew I could conquer the world.
We were all done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
we were also very naive. Conquer the world. Like, we were very naive. At 18, we were so, like, I remember my mom being like, she was like, are you sure you don't want to, like, go to school in Europe? I was like, nah, man. Like, I mean, I do truly, and still to this day, believe that God was like, you need to go back to the States, because I needed to repair my relationship with my dad and like all that.
Yep.
But like, when she was like, nah, I'm be cool. I'm be good. Like, I'm cool. Like, whatever. But man, the naivety of being 18 and like being like, I'm just going to jump 2 feet in the world. Like, it was, because I did have an anxiety attack like the day, but I didn't understand why. I was like, all right, we going to college. I did have an anxiety attack on the way there, but I think it was just, nerves of like, yeah, it's a new place, new school, but whatever. And I got kind of overwhelmed, but it's just like, we can still do this though. Like, let's go. And then like you get older and you're just like, shh, I gotta do this again.
That's what I'm doing now. I'm like, golly, I gotta move again. Yeah.
Like, yeah, like my brain nearly exploded. I gotta make friends again. Like, back then you're just like a little new puppy in a new area. And now you're like the old dog. And you're like, dude, I'm done.
Yeah. So,
at this point,
I know that you and I had different experiences in college.
It's like,
you were in sports and I was not. I was messing around. I was just not.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, I did not do well in college. I did worse in college than I did in high school. No. But like, I didn't even make like good friends in college. The friends that I made were all older than I am, or they were like part of my church. That was really it. Yeah. I didn't make friends in like my classes or anything, because when I got to Liberty, I was 22, 23. Yeah, I was 22. And so I was already 4 years old and half the kids there, and I just, it's like, this isn't, so I was making friends with master students and doctor students and doctorates. And I was much more involved in them. And then they all left. And, but I wasn't involved in sports.
Going to college but also going to college at different ages, like, it's completely different. So it's because those 4 years do help you grow. Whereas like you're 18, bushy toed coming out of high school, like, let's get this. I'm a be the best, and going to play basketball. Not going to say it was a mistake, because I made good friends at my new school. Not going to say it was a mistake. But to move to a new school just for basketball is not a good enough reason if I were to look back and tell myself. Yeah. But, I did it. Found some new friends while I was there. And, I did actually recently go drive through my campus after 5 years or whatever. Haven't been on it. Haven't stepped on it since the day I graduated. And it's just, this has definitely helped me look at the experience differently. Like, oh, it wasn't all bad. Even though like there were some real dark times, but it wasn't all bad. And so I was finally able to step on it and, smile a little bit. How about you? Have you gone back to Liberty?
Yeah, I was actually there beginning of April, um, and like I don't know, it's just like I don't know. I think there's just so much life to live, and like the kids in college just don't get that yet unless they've lived life before college. Um, and Liberty does this thing called College for a Weekend, where it's like a bunch of 16-year-olds, 17, 18-year-olds that are like going to college at Liberty for a weekend. And they're all like, "Oh, this is amazing!" You know, I'm like, it's really not. Liberty is good in a lot of ways, but the amount of horror stories that I've heard from kids living on campus, it's just kind of like, it just made me really sad. You know, it's one of the reasons I never lived on campus. I was also 22, and I didn't want to room with like an 18-year-old that didn't know how to clean the bathroom or didn't know how to clean the room. Right. Coming out of, this is part of it. Like part of it is like kids just don't know how to clean bathroom themselves. And that was like beat into me when I was a kid. Of just, you have chores, you have a day that you kind of take care of the stuff. Not that I'm amazing at it, but you pick up after yourself, you take care of the place that you're living in. And the horror stories that I've heard are just like, you know, kids just don't know how to clean up after themselves, or they wouldn't shower for 3 days because their parents aren't talking to them about it. Like, dude, you stink. Like, go fix it. Like, I don't have, I just, you know, I don't know. I think that people like to kind of hype up the college experience. And you know, the first question you asked is like, when I was 18, would I tell myself anything different? Yeah, I would. Don't go to college right after high school. Live life, really live life. Go to places that people make connections and you feel like you have a home in, and you know, or you have, like, we grew up in a place where you kind of had to be tight knit. But there are cultures out there that's their natural go-to. They, you know, it's weird here in the States for guys to hold hands. Man, everywhere else in the world, you're seeing guys hold hands, you know, when they're not in a relationship. It's just part of their culture. It's part of their affection for each other. And I think that's, you know, something that we often miss is when we push kids to go to college. It's like, well, you know, you need to get a college experience. There are other ways to get life experience that are much more valuable, that you can actually go to a college board and go, I've done these things in my life. I have so much more to add to your classroom in your college campus because of these things in your life, than I did if I'm coming from freaking Connecticut or, you know, Texas or whatever. So
yeah, definitely, I agree. I would agree. I think also, like, it's just, we're in a new world where like education isn't as valued as experience. Like, we're just in that new world where it's like, oh, you have your bachelor's degree, but like, do you have enough experience in this?
Yeah.
And then like, when you go, no, I really only have like, or if they want you to have 3, but you only have like 2, they're like, but you have your bachelor's degree and your master's, they're still like, sorry, you know. So like, it's like companies are starting to value what you can do. Like, so if you go to a technical college and get like a technical degree and, you know, start working in that type of thing, they're starting to value more of just experience over, because you get educated when you have experience, you know. So just, I don't know if America's gonna like that, though. Not getting money from kids. What are we gonna do?
Yeah, let me trade your life for $80,000. Man, you can kiss. Nope. You can kiss my butt with that. So,
are you trying to get, since you graduated from Liberty, doing all that, now you want to move to Denver? Is Denver like your final spot? You're settling there, or are you like trying to? And is this your career? Like, is this what you're gonna do, or are you just using it to get into what you want?
Okay. Well, first, if you have a brain for IT is a great career field.
I don't,
right.
but
So
go ahead.
it's just how my brain works. you're a nerd and you understand math and how to write. And within the first 3 years, you can make 6 figures. At least here in the States, right? So it looks a little different working outside in Europe versus working here in the States. So if you have a brain for it, absolutely go for it. It's a great career field. Even if you're in it for like 5-6 years, you can pay off student loans pretty quick and then move forward. As far as like long term, I'm going to say no. I don't think Denver's it. I like Denver. It's just expensive. For my 600 square foot apartment, I was paying $1,600, including utilities, which is insane. And it wasn't even that like good of a place. You remember, like it wasn't even that good of like a part of town either. I was hearing gunshots every 3 or 4 days. Like, I was in a decent enough area, but like our place got swatted twice. The guy across me got broken into twice. His car got broken into. We had drug dealers in our area all the time, patrolled by cops all the time. And so is Denver it? I don't think so. I think it's a stepping stone for me. I love the mountains out there. It's one of the reasons that I think I'm drawn back to Europe and Austria specifically. I've always enjoyed Austria. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's my end all be all. And I know that tech isn't my end all be all career field. I know that ministry is one of mine. I love the Lord, and so I think what's happening with tech is that I'm here to design applications, and I'm currently doing 2 mobile applications that I'm developing while I work at Home Depot, and just set those off into the internet and see if people want it, and then develop other applications for it. So tech is great. It's a lot of fun. There's always a challenge to it. But it's not my passion. And I realized that you're not supposed to follow your passion all the time. There are ways to do your passion while you're actually working. And so I'm learning how to do all of that and kind of pair it up and go, where's the balance struck between, doing ministry, what that looks like outside of a church, working in IT, and being a software engineer, and developing my own applications, my own company for it, as well as satisfying the travel bug that we grew up with, living in a place that actually feels like home. I don't know if Austria is it, but I'm going in July, and we'll see what happens. I've been invited for a mission trip, and at some point I know I'll end up back in Africa, which I was looking at. I think I was looking at the Central Africa, so Congo, and I just my heart just started to hurt for all the people there, not because of what they're going through and the poverty of it and the issues that colonial Europe brought in and created.
Yeah.
I think it's just people are hurting, and from my perspective, and I think it's the right perspective, the gospel is the answer. As many people might disagree with it, that's a hill that I'm willing to die on. I think it's the answer to a lot of pain, and as much as the Lord wants the best for you, and as much as He gives you joy and He brings contentment into your life, and He is like the fulfillment of so much. It doesn't mean that there isn't pain. It doesn't mean that there isn't hurt. I mean, I can attest to that over the last 10 years. The amount of times that I've cried on the floor or sobbed because of deaths in my life and grieving. Denver isn't it. I might end up back in Virginia. I might end up in New York. I might end up in Austria. I don't know. But I think because of how we grew up, there is no settling. At the same time, we as Christians that grew up as third culture kids that are outside of our home have a very unique ability of understanding and recognizing that this world isn't our home. You know, compared to somebody that grew up in Connecticut for 20 years, 30 years, you know, or Texas or, you know, Belgium for their entire life or whatever it is. And so there's no like perspective shift. Well, yeah, but you weren't really Belgian. Like you're American living in Belgium. Yeah.
Very true.
And there was a whole, I mean,
Yeah,
slew of issues that we dealt with after that when you came back to the States, you know, growing up and being, you know, so yeah, Denver isn't it.
Yeah.
IT isn't so.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I remember you telling me like Africa felt like home to you, like the closest thing to home right now. So I hope you get the opportunity to go back there and, you know, experience it again. Yeah, for me, I think it's the same. Like, you know, you don't really know where you're going to end up right now. I feel like I want to go west, and I know I want to go west because I'll be close to you. I'll be close to Raquel. Caitlin's not too far, you know. My god sister's not too far, so like I'll have, you know, friends and stuff. And it's just, you know, just right now. I don't know if it's forever, but yeah, it's weird. It's a weird thing to be a military brat. Never call anything home. But I mean, I called Belgium home, but you know, you call the military really your home, and then you kind of get ousted of your home and try to figure out what's next. And it is pretty weird to never have really a place to be like, oh yeah, this is it. Because I believe like if I move to out west, it might be what, 2-3 years, and I'd be like, okay, now I'm kind of bored and I want to see a different scenery. Like, you know what I'm saying? So like, you know, because like people keep asking me like, why do you want to move out west? And I'm like, I've never been or lived in a place where I can get all 4 seasons. Like I was in Belgium, I got rain and I got snow sometimes. I moved to North Carolina where I got all sun at all times, never snowed, not once. Then I moved to Georgia. Again, hot as balls. We barely had a winter this year. Yep. And, you know, I was like, I just want to go somewhere where like when I went to Arizona last time, like it snowed. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's snowing. And like, you know, it wasn't too long after Christmas. And I was like, this is awesome. You know, this is what I want. So it's just one of those things of, it's not the place, but it's the people with you.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, come out west. You know, you'll be close to Raquel, Caitlin, and I. And yeah. Denver's a blast. Like Denver can be really, really fun with the right people. So, and I'm a lot more connected now than I was when you came to visit me last year. So
that's good. So, tell me, what makes a difference to the move to Denver this time? Because, like, I remember you moved there the first time and you were really excited, and then you know you kind of got like, I don't know if I made the right decision. So what makes it the right decision this time around?
So when I first got to Denver, the friends that I'd made over the summer, I was there for 7 weeks with my dog. And then, man, I love my dog. Luna's freaking crazy. She's so much fun. But, she sheds so much. I can't it's the one thing that I just have a hard time with. And it's white hair. It's everywhere. Yeah. So I think the first time, I know that the first time that I got there, I moved there after 7 weeks in Denver, moved back to, or came back to Austin for 2-3 weeks and then moved up there officially. I didn't have anybody that I lived with. So that was an issue. Number one. Number two was the friend that had originally invited me up to Colorado and encouraged me with that. Megan, she was actually the youth pastor out in Belgium. She went on sabbatical like almost immediately when I got there. I'm gonna say almost immediately. She was doing her own thing. In like 2 or 3 weeks after I got there, she was gone. Another friend that I made over the summer was pregnant. And so she was doing her own thing with her husband. Another friend that I made, Ryan, like he got really busy with work. And so I was left with the three people that I kind of depended on, just gone. And then I was working, I was working for Home Depot, and still am. And I was doing the ministry, and you act out when you don't know what to do with your emotions sometimes. And I was just kind of digging myself a hole. And then the ministry that I was working with, they were all younger than I was by 5 years, 6 years. And so it was like this weird generational shift or not shift, but generational clash of, I'm a generation older than you. At the same time, I've also lived outside of the States like 16 years of my life. How do I kind of relate to you guys? How do you guys actually see me as, a friend? And it wasn't happening. And so I did that for a while. And then you came up in, I think, January. We kind of talked about it. And then we talked about some other stuff. And then back in February, started dating somebody. Things kind of got a little bit better since I had more community. I was kind of forced into position to find community. And then I found a really good young adults group that I was part of until I left. And so I came back to Austin to kind of reset. My dad got sick back in November. He was sick for about 3 months. So I was able to help my family out. This is a really good jumping off point for me for traveling back up to Colorado for a high school camp. And then going just to see, friends again, to actually have that communication, and then look for places to stay as I felt Lord coming back to Colorado. Even though it wasn't the best place that I've lived, it was definitely challenging for its own reasons. And then I was able to jump from here to Virginia to go see friends in Liberty that I hadn't seen in 2 years, and kind of commissioned send one of my friends off to do ministry, and connect with them again. And man, I almost cried. Like, I cried the night that my friend left. But like I was getting teary-eyed the whole week that I was there, because it was like finding a home, and not because of the place, but because of the people. And yeah, I don't know. It was really eye-opening to see how community driven I am. I recently just took I think like 2-3 days ago, I took a personality test again. I haven't taken one like 9-10 years. And it said that I'm like an extroverted individual, which kind of sounds weird, as a software engineer. But it was more so, I think the title was like entrepreneur, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. And one of the things was like, you're bold. It's like, yeah, totally. 100%. Like, I'll just go out and do something because I can do it. The flip side of that was you don't always take into account other people's feelings. And so I think that was one of the big things that when I first moved up to Colorado, was that I wasn't taking into account other people's feelings. I was doing it just because of my own like desire to do that. I really did feel like the Lord was saying, hey, move here. But I kind of forced it in such a way that I did it of my own will, and kind of paid for it. I made some good friends. But this time around, I was really hesitant to move back because of my experience. And I was like, you know what? If this is your way, like, what I need. I don't even know what I need half the time, but you know what I need. And so I was having that conversation with him. I was like, this is something you have to meet. I have to have roommates. Like, it has to be within my price range. It has to be in a good area. They have to be okay with Luna. And so, yeah, it's different. And my lease is only 5 months. It's supposed to be a 6-month lease, but I'm only be there for like 5 months. And then after that, I get to decide where I go next, whether I stay in Colorado, or I go back to Virginia, or come back to Texas. I don't know. Or, God forbid I move to Europe. That'd be freaking awesome. But,
God forbid. Shut up.
Yeah. oh no, it like hurt my soul to move back to Europe and like go to
Oh my goodness. Try to convince
yeah,
God to like be like, move me to Europe.
absolutely,
God forbid. Oh my
100%. Yo,
gosh.
no, don't take me back. Yeah,
Don't do that.
yeah. It would be so hard. Yeah, I kind of, um, yeah, I think it looks different now since I'll say a
Mhm.
year and change older. Yeah, I was 26 when I first moved to Denver. I'm turning 29
Yeah.
this year. Golly, old. Um,
Yeah, you still got a couple more months.
yeah, I do. Yeah, so uh, the guys that I'm living with are older than I am, and
Mm-hmm.
have different walks with the Lord. I have the third floor to myself, basically.
That's good.
He, the homeowner, they're both Christians, like hardcore
Mm-hmm.
Christians, which is awesome. Um, he's like super chill about a lot. And then I was like, hey, I have a dog. She loves other dogs. She just sheds. Like, I'll make sure that she's bathed and brushed and all this other stuff, to help kind of minimize that. But uh, this is something you have to be aware of. And one of the guys that I spoke to, he was like, yo, you seem really attached to your dog. Like, our landlord isn't like super hip on that, and you bring a dog into the house, be kind of a different dynamic on the house. This is somebody else. And I was like, yeah, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
this dog kind of saved me in some ways of
Yeah.
just making me go outside and making me expose myself to sunlight and actually being happy and engaging with my dog and taking her to the park. There's some things that I'm attached to the dog because of those things, but also it's my dog. Like, I care for her.
Mm-hmm.
She's expensive though, man. Like,
You
yeah,
ain't got to
she
tell me.
freaking,
Snickers is
oh
expensive as I don't know
gosh.
what.
My parents have property out here in Texas, and she got sliced open from like her chest to her armpit back in October, like the day before my birthday.
Oh.
Yeah, and I'd take her to the ER, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
and that was $1,000 the first time. 4 days later, I had to take her back to the freaking vet because her wound didn't have a drain, and it was getting hot to the touch,
Oh.
and so it got infected.
Mm-hmm.
And those little water bottles, 6-ounce water bottles. That's how much
Mm-hmm.
fluid came out of her wound.
Wow. Wow.
So they had to kind of release that, and then she popped 3 stitches. So I had to put her back under. So it was $1,000 for the first vet visit, $400 for the second vet visit, and another $1,000 for the next one for surgery. So in the span of a week, she cost me $2,400. You talk about insurance, like that
Yeah.
was. I got insurance for my pup, and I was like, "There's no way." Knowing my lifestyle,
I'm
she's
about to
gonna
say,
end up with
yeah,
a broken
yeah. They
bone.
now have they have pet insurance.
Yeah, but I was like,
They have pet
There's
insurance
no
now, man.
way.
I was so surprised. Like when my job was like, "Do you want pet insurance?" I don't think I need it, but I mean, sure.
Yeah. I knew that she was gonna like break a bone or something was gonna happen, and I was like, you know what? I looked at her. I was like, your $35 a month literally paid for itself this week. Oh
For
gosh,
real, it really does.
it did.
It really does.
It really did pay for itself, and I'm like, I just don't want to go through it again. Like, please
Yeah.
don't make me pay for it again.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I wasn't worried. I was just, but yeah, that was, I think, going back to why I think Denver's next move is just, there's a lot more peace about it this time. There is some apprehension knowing what I know
Mm-hmm.
now versus then. But I'm ready. Like, I'm ready to live on my own again, quote
Yeah.
unquote.
Yeah.
Be outside of my parents' umbrella. I've been that way since I was like 16, 17 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm ready to get back to it. Like, some of those kids that I work with on Mondays and Wednesdays, they're like, "You're my older brother." I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay. Like, I already have a younger sister. I don't need one that's 16 or half my age. But some of them
Look,
really did
and
need
this
to
is
get an older
what the
brother.
personality test was talking about, guys. The personality test. Somebody tells him that he feels like a big brother. He's like, yeah, I don't really need another little sibling. Nah.
Yeah,
So
I
I'm
love
like,
Aaron to
oh,
death.
that's so sweet.
Yeah. But I talked to them too, and I was like, hey, just so you know, like if you're calling me an older brother, I have all rights of an older brother. And they're like,
Oh
okay.
God.
And then they realize that that means embarrassment at any point in time, pranking whenever I
Yeah.
want to. Like
Yeah.
I just get to be their older brother in that sense. Like, yeah, I might, rough you up sometimes, but at
Mhm.
the end of the day, there's a huge protective instinct about it. Of you can come to me with anything, and I'll help you figure it out. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I just it's I'm different versus
Mhm.
now versus then, and the situation is different too.
Yeah, you're not the naive 26-year-old like we talked about. Like
Right? Yeah,
you
yeah,
think, yeah, you think like you know best, and you're like, I'ma do it,
yeah.
and you're
Force
behind
Louis hand.
God there. And God was like, I know you don't. I think it's so funny
I
though, because like people don't think God laughs. Like he will laugh at you. He will allow you to make decisions and just watch you like deal with the consequences because he can't do any. He gave us free will.
yeah,
You chose to move, and he was like, "All right, cool. Let me know when you want to come back and have a
yeah,
conversation this time around. Just
yeah,
let me know. I'm ready when you're ready. But so
yeah,
then,
yeah. He does laugh. He absolutely does. I mean, he gave us emotions too, and so I
yep,
just I feel like half the time God just goes, wow. So was
mm-hmm.
that a good decision? No. Did you learn from it?
Yep,
Kinda. You can do it again?
yeah,
Maybe. Like, it just
exactly.
might
Yeah,
look different.
yeah.
So
It's the definition. Yeah, it's the definition of tell God your plans and watch him laugh. Like legit. Like
yeah, yeah.
so. Like so you said 5 months. What were you? Because you said the criteria was like, gotta have roommates, this, and that. But like beyond that, why do you think Colorado just keeps drawing you back more than just the mountains? Like, is it the possible community that you can create there that you kind of started creating the first time around?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I've always wanted to go to Colorado since I was young. My mom
Mm-hmm.
and my dad spent time there. We have great stories. I now have great stories about Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but you get a really good, I think the environment of Colorado, of Denver specifically, it's expensive, yes. Um, but you're also close to the mountains. That's something that I really, really do enjoy. I've always
Mm-hmm.
enjoyed mountains. When we went skiing in France, that was my favorite trip that I've ever taken. Like, and it
Mm-hmm.
was a yearly experience for us. Loved the Swiss Alps, loved Germany, loved Austria, loved, the Italian Alps, all this stuff that I've always been drawn to the mountains, never really been a beach guy or prairie guy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think part of it is the community. The other part is the environment of just Colorado itself. It's an outdoorsy state. The fact that it's like community, I think it's much more the outdoorsy state that I am enjoying. I love to go hiking. I like to
Mm-hmm.
go and play in the snow. Um, I like four seasons. Like, who really doesn't want four seasons in their life? And I don't mean like you have 8 months and then a week of like a new season, and then like a 2 months of something else, and like a week of something else, and then you have heat the rest of the time.
I mean,
Um,
there's some people out there that are like that, man.
yeah, there are. I don't call them sane, but that's just. I like four seasons. I like to see kind of like the change. You get snow, you get
Mm-hmm.
wildflowers, you get the warmth, and then you have
Mm-hmm.
everything kind of hibernate for the winter. Um, yeah, and I don't know. I just for right now, it's where it is. I think Austria's probably another step in a couple of years, maybe. I don't know. I'm kind of at a point where
Mm-hmm.
I'm. Lord's gonna take me where He's gonna take me, and if He takes me back to Virginia, if He takes me to Colorado again, and I stay in Colorado, if He takes me to Utah, which by the way is a beautiful state, um,
Mm-hmm.
or the Northeast, or back to Europe. I don't really know. I'll figure out how to plant roots again. So.
You're open to all the options.
Yeah, I mean, my contentment isn't from where I am; it's from the Lord. But I will
Mm-hmm.
say when I went back to Liberty in Lynchburg, it was eye-opening because I actually felt like I had nourishing roots for one of the first times in my life, which as a military brat, you kind of don't get. So yeah.
That's good. Yeah. So, last question. 5 years from now, since you've already said all these other things, tell me your dream where you would like to be and what you would like to
I
be
am no longer
doing.
working. Like,
All right.
yeah. I'm a multimillionaire having, a place in Italy. No, I
Let's
think,
get a little bit more reality.
hey, you never know. My apps could sell for, plenty
You know
of
what? You're
money.
right.
In 5 years, I mean, I hope to be married. I hope to, be married, have a kid, be overseas, possibly have multiple streams of income in the sense of like having a couple of houses that you rent out, an app or two. So part of a business that I run and doing ministry. I don't know what that looks like. Maybe eventually setting up an orphanage in 5 years, looking at how that's going to work out to give kids in more impoverished countries a chance to actually have a family and learn. Learning, we kind of take it for granted, but learning is the biggest exit from poverty. When you actually have not just financial freedom, but just like educational freedom in that sense. If you make it past the 12th grade, your earning potential is huge, and your ability to stay out of poverty is huge. So yeah, I think married, have a kid, at least one. I'm like a big family kind of guy. Look at adoption. Look at
This kid wants
orphanages.
the whole freaking soccer team.
Yo, give them. Like, I got plenty of love to go around, adopt all the kids that I can. Yeah, I mean, kids, they need a safe place. I really don't. I don't know. I don't have a goal in the sense of like at 35 I'm going to do this. I read a note that I wrote myself a few years ago, and I kind of laughed, and I said like something in 2024, and I was like, none of that was accomplished. So yeah. I don't really have like a specific answer.
It's weird because I don't know, I think as we get closer to 30, we're just kind of like, wherever life takes me, like I'm so done planning. Because you plan, it doesn't come through, you get disappointed, and then you have to reevaluate, and then you just get to a point where it's like, you know what? I'm just gonna live. I'm just gonna live. Like, what comes with living comes with living, and that's about it.
Yeah, I'm kind of done. Yep.
Yeah. Like, yeah, it's good to have like goals set, but like at the end of the day, life is gonna happen, and again, with the naivety of being 18, thinking you can plan everything.
Yeah, I think that's something else that I would kind of caution myself at. Is just relax. Like, life is going to take you on a crazy adventure, and not that I was like the most uptight person when I was 18. Far from it. I'm probably more uptight now than I was at 18. But that's because I have different responsibilities, and so don't live life according to the plan that I have, but take it in stride and just enjoy the moment that you're in. Because life changes it literally changes at a moment's notice. I mean, from personal experience of just deaths in my life, and like last June, I had my girlfriend at the time break up with me. My grandmother passed away the next week, and then the week after that, I had my great uncle pass away. So, and the month prior, I was on a high note. And we've experienced death together. So it was just kind of don't put too much pressure on yourself. Enjoy the moment where you're at. Be content with what you have. Because life is going to have its own way with you, and you're going to take your beatings and kind of have to move on.
Yeah, so true. So true. I think that's one of the biggest lessons all of us have learned. Like, even if you're not a military brat, like, we just learn in, like, life comes, life goes. But one of the biggest things, like, we're definitely learning now is, like, we have to deal with our emotions and we have to deal with the trauma, or, like, we're never going to grow or amount to anything, you know?
Counseling.
It's hard.
Recommend it. 10 out of 10. It's hard.
Oh, yeah.
It sucks.
It is.
But the outcome is 10 times better than just putting the emotions away.
Definitely. Yeah. And I'm going to tell them right now, like, life, as you get to, like, the different points in life that you want to get into, like, we believe it'll get easier. No, like, life gets harder. Like, the more you get, the harder it gets. The higher, you know, the next level that you get to, the problems are different. And it's not like your problems are going to go away. Like, life gets harder. And it's when you finally realize, like, over time, life is going to get harder and you have to face it. It makes life a lot easier, which is crazy. Like,
yeah,
when you realize it gets harder, life gets easier. But yeah. Anyway, thank you, friend, for being on this podcast episode. Another 2 hours, but it was more on topic. Thank you very much for staying on topic with me.
Yeah, let me know if you need round 3. So.
You know what? Might as well. Let's do this again next year. Might even do it at the end of the year when I come visit you. And I'm going to be like, yo, let's just do a fun podcast for no reason at all.
All right, I'm down. Yeah, totally.
Hey, guys. Thank you for tuning in for another episode on the Stories of the Dandelion podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please go and share it with a friend, a colleague, or even a family member. And make sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms so you can stay up to date on when the episodes are coming out and what is involved in each episode. Thank you again for tuning in, and I will see you all next Military Brat Monday.